often we measure our worth by the people who stay in our lives. We look at the ones who choose to walk away, the ones who stop calling, the ones who turn their backs, and we take it personally. We convince ourselves that their departure is a reflection of our inadequacy, our shortcomings, or our failure to be enough. But that is a lie that will keep you in bondage. Let me tell you something. People will leave. People will walk away. People will change and relationships will shift. Some will leave quietly, some will leave suddenly, and some will leave in a way that wounds you deeply. But their absence does not diminish your value. Their departure does not make you any less worthy, any less significant, or any less deserving of love and respect. We live in a world where we attach too much of our identity to who chooses to stay in our lives. We measure our importance based on who claps for us, who supports us, who sticks around when times get tough. But what happens when the ones you counted on the most walk away? What happens when the people you thought would be there forever disappear without warning? Do you suddenly become less? Do you suddenly become unworthy? No. You were created by God with a purpose long before those people ever entered your life. Your value was set before you were ever introduced to them. That means their decision to stay or leave does not define you because they did not create you. They did not breathe life into you. They did not anoint you, appoint you, or assign your destiny. And if they did not give you your worth, they cannot take it away. One of the hardest lessons in life is learning how to release the grip you have on people who are no longer meant to walk with you. We hold on because we fear loss. We hold on because we don't want to be alone. We hold on because we have convinced ourselves that without them, we won't be okay. But let me tell you something. God is not the author of abandonment. He is the author of divine. If someone is meant to be in your life, nothing will take them away. But if someone was only meant to be in your life for a season, no amount of pleading, chasing, or holding on will make them stay. Sometimes their leaving is the best thing that could have ever happened to you. You may not see it in the moment. You may feel like your world is crumbling, like you're losing something irreplaceable, like life will never be the same. But what if their absence is making space for something greater? What if their exit is part of God's plan to elevate you? So many of us are weighed down, exhausted, and frustrated because we are trying to hold on to people who have already let go of us. We are pouring ourselves into relationships that have already expired, hoping to revive something that God has already called us to release. And in doing so, we delay our healing, we delay our growth, and we delay the blessings that are waiting for us on the other side of that door. God does not need permission from people to bless you. He does not need their approval to elevate you, and he certainly does not need them to validate you. Some of you are mourning the loss of relationships that were never meant to go the distance. You are grieving over friendships that could not withstand the weight of your calling. You are crying over people who could not handle the version of you that God is shaping you to be. But let me tell you something. Not everyone is meant to go where you are going. There are some people who are only assigned to certain chapters of your life. There are some who are only meant to teach you a lesson, prepare you for your next season, or reveal something about yourself that you needed to see. But just because someone was a part of your past does not mean they are destined to be in your future. When God calls you higher, not everyone will be willing or able to go with you. It is painful when people leave, especially when you have invested your heart, your energy, and your love into them. It hurts when people change, when loyalty fades, when bonds break. But do not let temporary losses convince you that you have lost yourself. You are still here. You are still standing. You are still worthy. And just because someone has walked away does not mean that God has walked away from you. Stop trying to force people to stay where they no longer belong. Stop begging for relationships that no longer serve you. Stop allowing the presence or absence of people to determine how you see yourself. Some people will stay, some people will go, some will love you, and some will leave you. But none of that changes the fact that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. None of that alters the purpose that God has placed inside of you. If they walked away, let them walk. If they chose to leave, let them leave. You are not less because of their absence. You are not broken beyond repair because they no longer choose you. The only approval you ever needed was God's. And He has already called you worthy, chosen, and loved. Your identity is not in who stays or who leaves. Your identity is in the one who never changes, never fails, and never forsakes you. From the moment we take our first breath, the world starts telling us who we're supposed to be. We are shaped by the expectations of others, molded by opinions, influenced by societal pressures, and constantly seeking validation from people who were never meant to define us. We grow up believing that our worth is measured by how much we are loved, how accepted we are, and how well we fit into the mold that others have created for us. And in the process, we lose sight of who we really are. Too many of us are living for the applause of people who don't even truly know us. We are bending, compromising, adjusting, and shrinking ourselves to fit into spaces that were never meant for us. We dim our light so others won't feel uncomfortable. We suppress our voices to avoid conflict. We wear masks, pretending to be what others want us to be, all while suffocating under the weight of a false identity. But the truth is, no matter how much you try to please people, no matter how much you give, no matter how much you sacrifice, there will always be someone who thinks it's not enough. The danger of seeking identity in other people is that people are inconsistent. They love you today, they forget you tomorrow. They praise you in one season, they criticize you in the next. If you live for their approval, you will die from their rejection. If you allow their words to define you, you will be tossed back and forth by every changing opinion. You will never find stability because people are fickle, but God is constant. Some of us have built our entire identity around relationships. We think we are only as valuable as the person who loves us. We believe that our worth is determined by whether or not we are chosen, pursued, or admired. And when those relationships end, when people walk away, when we are left alone, we feel empty, as if we no longer have purpose. But let me tell you something. Your value is not tied to who stays or who leaves. Your purpose does not disappear just because someone stops seeing it. You were somebody before they loved you. You were somebody before they called you their friend. You were somebody before they recognized your gifts. And you will still be somebody if they walk away, if they stop calling, if they no longer see you the way they once did. Because your identity was never in them to begin with. Some of us are carrying wounds from childhood, words that were spoken over us, labels that were placed on us, opinions that shaped how we see ourselves. Maybe you were told you weren't good enough. Maybe you were made to feel like you would never measure up. Maybe you spent years trying to earn love, approval, or acceptance. And now, as an adult, You are still chasing the validation you never received. But hear me when I say, you are not what they called you. You are not their rejection. You are not their abandonment. You are not the mistakes they made in raising you. The way people treat you is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their capacity to love. Some people cannot see your value because they do not even see their own. Some people cannot love you properly because they have never experienced real love themselves. Some people reject you not because you are unworthy, but because they are broken and incapable of offering what you deserve. And yet we continue to define ourselves by their acceptance or rejection. We think if they love me, I must be lovable. If they see me, I must be worth seeing. If they choose me, I must be valuable. But what happens when they don't? Do you stop being worthy? Do you stop being lovable? Do you stop mattering? No, because your identity was never in them to begin with. Your identity is not in the friendships you have or the relationships you maintain. It is not in the number of people who follow you, applaud you, or approve of you. It is not in the titles you hold, the status you achieve, or the validation you receive from the world. Your identity is in who you were created to be. It is in the gifts, the purpose, and the calling placed inside of you. It is in the value you carry simply because you exist. When you stop looking to others to tell you who you are, you will find a freedom like never before. You will stop worrying about whether they like you, whether they approve of you, whether they accept you. You will stop performing, pretending, and seeking to be what they want you to be. You will start embracing your true self, standing in your own power, and walking confidently in your identity. But as long as your self-worth is dependent on other people, you will always feel like you are not enough. Because people cannot fill a void that only God can fill. They cannot define what they did not create. And they cannot give you something that was never theirs to give. The moment you realize that your identity is not in other people is the moment you take back your power. It is the moment you stop settling for less than you deserve. It is the moment you stop allowing temporary opinions to shape your permanent self-worth. It is the moment you walk away from anything and anyone that tries to make you forget who you are. And when you finally embrace your true identity, when you finally recognize your own worth, when you finally stop seeking validation from outside sources, you will realize that you never needed their approval in the first place. Solitude is often misunderstood. People fear it, avoid it, and run from it because they confuse it with loneliness. But solitude and loneliness are not the same. Loneliness is the absence of connection. But solitude is the presence of self. Loneliness is a void that longs to be filled. But solitude is a space where clarity is found. Loneliness makes you feel empty, but solitude makes you whole. In today's world, we are constantly surrounded by noise. The noise of conversations, the noise of opinions, the noise of expectations, the noise of endless distractions. We are conditioned to believe that being alone is a sign of weakness, that silence is something to be feared, that our worth is measured by how many people surround us, how many invitations we receive, how busy our schedules are. We seek companionship, validation, and company, often without questioning whether the presence of others is truly adding to our lives or simply keeping us from facing ourselves. But there is something powerful, something life-changing about solitude. It is in solitude that you discover who you really are. It is in solitude that you hear the voice of God more clearly. It is in solitude that you strip away all the external influences and come face to face with yourself. And that is where transformation happens. Many of us don't even know who we are outside of the roles we play in other people's lives. We are so used to defining ourselves by our relationships, our social circles, and our responsibilities that we never stop to ask, who am I when no one else is around? Who am I when the applause fades? Who am I when the distractions are gone? Who am I when I am left alone with my thoughts, my emotions, my dreams, and my fears? For some, the thought of being alone is terrifying, because solitude forces you to confront the things you have been avoiding. It forces you to sit with the emotions you have been suppressing. It forces you to acknowledge the wounds that still need healing, the insecurities that still linger, the questions you have been too busy to ask. It strips away the noise and leaves you with nothing but truth. And truth, real, raw, unfiltered truth, is not always easy to face, but the truth is what sets you free. In solitude, you learn to rely on something greater than the approval of others. You learn that your peace does not come from the presence of people, but from the presence of purpose. You learn that your worth is not tied to how much attention you receive, how many friends you have, or how busy your social life is. You learn that solitude is not a punishment. It is a preparation. Think about the most powerful figures in history, the greatest minds, the most influential leaders. Many of them had seasons of solitude. They had moments where they had to step away from the crowd, from the noise, from the expectations, and go into a place of isolation to receive clarity, vision, and revelation. Moses had solitude on the mountain. Jesus had solitude in the wilderness. Elijah had solitude in the cave. Every great transformation, every great revelation, every great calling was preceded by a season of solitude. Yet in our modern world, we resist it. We fill every waking moment with distraction, scrolling, texting, calling, working, socializing, because we are afraid of what silence might reveal. But what if solitude is exactly what we need? What if the clarity you've been praying for is waiting for you in the quiet? What if the peace you've been longing for can only be found when you step away from everything and everyone else? The reason many of us feel drained, lost, or disconnected is because we have never given ourselves the gift of solitude. We have never sat in stillness long enough to hear the whispers of our own soul. We have never disconnected from the world long enough to reconnect with ourselves. We have never stepped away from the voices of others long enough to hear the voice of God. Solitude is not about isolation. It is about revelation. It is about creating space for growth, for healing, for clarity, for transformation. It is about learning to enjoy your own company, to love yourself without conditions, to be at peace with who you are without needing external validation. Many people stay in unhealthy relationships, toxic friendships, and draining environments simply because they fear being alone. They settle for less than they deserve because they would rather have company than confront solitude. But solitude is not something to be feared. It is something to be embraced, because in solitude you find yourself. In solitude you find strength. In solitude you find out that you are enough. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in life don't come in the crowd, they come in the quiet. They come when you step away, when you unplug, when you stop seeking validation from others, and start seeking truth within yourself. They come when you stop being afraid of your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own presence. When you embrace solitude, you begin to see life differently. You realize that you do not need to be surrounded by people to be whole. You realize that your identity is not found in external connections, but in internal strength. You realize that solitude is not about being lonely. It is about being fully present with yourself, fully aware of your worth, and fully aligned with your purpose. Solitude is not empty space. It is sacred space. It is where you detox from the noise of the world and tune into the frequency of your soul. It is where distractions fade, clarity emerges, and transformation begins. It is where you stop running from yourself and start embracing who you were always meant to be. One of the greatest traps in life is the need for approval. Too many of us are walking around carrying the weight of other people's opinions, allowing their words, their judgments, and their expectations to dictate the steps we take. We hesitate, we second guess, we hold ourselves back, not because we are incapable, not because we are unqualified, but because we are too concerned with what they might think. But let me tell you something, you were not created to be a prisoner of their opinions. You were created to walk in purpose. You were created with gifts, with vision, with a calling that is unique to you. And as long as you allow other people's voices to be louder than God's voice in your life, you will never move in the direction you were meant to go. There are people right now sitting on dreams because they are afraid of what others will say. There are people delaying their destiny because they are seeking permission from those who were never meant to validate them. There are people living small, thinking small, and playing small because they are too caught up in opinions that do not align with their purpose. But hear me today. Other people's opinions do not determine your destiny. Too many of us have been conditioned to live for acceptance. We want to be liked, we want to be understood, we want to be embraced. And so we shrink ourselves to fit into spaces that were never meant to contain us. We dim our light so that others won't feel uncomfortable. We abandon our purpose so that we won't stand out too much. But purpose is not about comfort, it is about calling. Purpose will set you apart. Purpose will require you to break away from the crowd. Purpose will force you to choose between being liked and being obedient. And that's where many people get stuck. Because walking in purpose requires courage, it requires boldness, it requires a level of faith that says, I will obey God even if they don't understand me. I will step forward even if they criticize me. I will pursue what I was created to do even if it makes people uncomfortable. The truth is, not everyone will support your purpose. Not everyone will believe in your vision. Not everyone will clap when you succeed. And if you are waiting for universal approval before you move, you will be waiting for the rest of your life. Think about the greatest leaders, the most influential world changers, the most powerful figures in history. None of them walked in their purpose without opposition. None of them fulfilled their destiny without being criticized, judged, misunderstood, and talked about. Because when you move differently, people will have something to say. When you refuse to follow the crowd, people will have opinion. When you choose to rise above mediocrity, people will question you. But you cannot allow their opinions to become your prison. The moment you start basing your decisions on what others think, you lose control of your own life. You let their fears become your fears. Their doubts become your doubts. Their limitations become your limitations. But when you walk in your purpose, you stop asking for permission to be great. You stop seeking validation from people who were never meant to define you. You stop letting external voices shape your internal identity. Some of you have been stuck for too long because you are waiting for the approval of people who don't even believe in themselves. You are allowing the opinions of those who have never built anything, never risked anything, never accomplished anything to dictate your future. But why would you let someone who has never walked your path tell you where you should go? Why would you let someone who does not carry your vision tell you what you can and cannot do? When you walk in purpose, you have to be willing to disappoint people. You have to be willing to let some relationships shift. You have to be okay with being misunderstood, because not everyone is meant to see what you see. Not everyone is meant to understand where you are going. And that's okay. You do not need their approval to be who you were created to be. Some of the most powerful moments in life happen when you stop caring about their opinions and start focusing on your purpose. When you stop waiting for validation and start moving in obedience. When you stop looking for acceptance and start stepping into destiny. Because purpose will require you to stand alone sometimes. Purpose will require you to rise above the noise and walk boldly in what you were called to do. And the truth is, no matter what you do, somebody will always have an opinion. If you stay where you are, they will talk. If you move forward, they will talk. If you succeed, they will talk. If you fail, they will talk. So if they are going to talk anyway, you might as well walk in your purpose. You have spent too much time worrying about people who don't even matter in the grand scheme of your destiny. You have spent too much energy trying to fit in with people who were never meant to walk with you. You have wasted too many opportunities waiting for confirmation from those who were never meant to validate your assignment. The time is now. Walk in your purpose. Move boldly, speak with confidence, show up fully. Do not let their opinions keep you from stepping into everything that is meant for you, because at the end of the day, it is not their approval that will matter. It is whether or not you fulfilled the purpose for which you were created. At the end of the day, you were not created to chase people, live for their approval, or be defined by their opinions. Your identity is not in who stays or who leaves, nor is it found in the validation of others. It is in your purpose, your calling, and the undeniable value placed within you from the beginning. When you embrace solitude, you strip away distractions and gain clarity. When you stop living for their applause, you walk freely in the direction meant for you. When you stop living for their applause, you walk freely in the direction meant for you. You must stop shrinking to fit spaces that were never meant to contain you, and stop seeking permission to be who you were created to be. Walk boldly in your purpose, knowing that their opinions do not define your destiny. Because at the end of it all, it is not about who approved of you. It is about whether you fulfilled what you were called to do.